I go back to the contracts. I have been teaching the contract class to new realtors at the Space Coast Association of Realtors since 2006. That class originally started with a 4-page contract, and it was a 90-minute class. Then it went up, and every few years, actually, typically, it's called the FAR contract. It's a collaboration between the Florida Association of Realtors and the Florida Bar, and they've collaborated to create a contract that realtors could fill in the blanks on. Again, I digress a little bit, but the preparation of a contract is deemed the practice of law. So you can't, unless you're an attorney, you cannot prepare a contract because you would be committing the unlicensed practice of law, which is a felony in the state of Florida. However, they have carved out an exception for real estate agents so that they can prepare contracts out in the field with their clients, but they're not actually drafting contracts. They're filling in the blanks on the standard form contract that has been approved by the Florida Association of Realtors and the Florida Bar. Now, there are a couple other form contracts out there. The Florida Association of Realtors has their own as well, that, again, realtors are authorized to use, but they're only authorized to fill in the blanks. So, again, I'd been teaching this course for a number of years, and every 3 years, the FAR Bar folks redrafted it. So I started with the 2004 contract, then the 2007 contract. Then in 2010, they redid the whole thing and made it about a 12-page contract, and we could no longer squeeze it into our 90 minutes of orientation for the new realtors. So the class got dropped for a little bit, and ultimately the association asked me to come back and start teaching it as a standalone class. Well, that started as a 2-hour class, that became a 3-hour class, and is now a 4-hour class, and now they're asking if I can add an advanced class to it. And the reason it's so long is you have a 12-page contract, but then, as you had pointed out, if there's a condominium association, there's a rider for that. There's a homeowners association, there's a rider for that. And there's about a couple dozen other potential riders that are riders are just addendums or additional language to the contract. And so realtors need to be aware of how to fill out all of the blanks in the contract. And that is critical to how smoothly a transaction goes, making sure buyers understand what they're buying, sellers understand what they're selling, and the various rights and obligations of the parties so that, again, the transaction goes smoothly.
Well, I know when years ago, most real estate agents handled their own contracts as far as the administration part of it, and there's so many little players that have to come involved in the 30 to 45 days between signing the contract and closing. You have appraisers coming in, you have inspectors, sometimes you have to have approvals and for different septic tanks. I mean, there's all kinds of people that come involved that you have to almost be an orchestra leader. And I always used to say you're an orchestra leader and your band's in another area. You know, it's almost like you have to keep all these people together for the transaction because they're not on a time limit. I mean, they don't really, I don't want to say they don't care, but when you have to have a surveyor come out, they give you a time they're going to be there. If they don't make it, sometimes that messes up your entire schedule of who's going to come out next. Whereas real estate agents and the buyer and sellers, we always have a goal. We've got that date set up, and we've got the mortgage person with that date set up. But the other players that are involved with the contract may or may not have that same requirement and they're a part of the contract. So keeping everything moving along takes a lot of effort, and it's hard to do that if you're in the office. If you're not in the office, if you're out showing property. So it's best to have some place that has someone looking over everything, like an administrator. And we do have that at Waterview Realty, which I'm proud to say we have people that keep that process going, because there are so many places in the contract that has a specific date that something has to be done within that time frame, or else you're technically, I used to say out of contract, but that's not the legal terms. You told me what the legal terms are.
Yeah. Well, again, you're bringing up legal stuff, so I'll give you the legal answer.
Thank you.
The phrase in most contracts, in all of standard contracts, that everyone should be aware of is time is of the essence. And actually, if you look at the FAR Bar contract, you'll see that's in big, bold print, kind of buried in the contract, but in big, bold print. Time is of the essence means that any time frames that are stated in the contract, if it says you have 5 days, it means that's an essential negotiated term. 5 days means 5 days. It does not mean 6 days or about 5 days or we'll get to it when we can 5 days. It means 5 days. And when you sign a contract, people often open with me when they say, oh, you're a real estate attorney. What's the law on this? And the answer is always the contract is where the law starts. The contract is the law between the parties. It's what you've agreed to. And once you've agreed to get your mortgage within 30 days, then you need to get your mortgage within 30 days. Now, there are clauses that say when it might be able to be extended or what you have to do if you don't have it within 30 days, but it's not on or about. It's time is of the essence. So what we like to do at Waterview Realty and also through Waterview Title, we, at the beginning of each contract, we create a timeline and make sure that the players and the parties are aware of that timeline and make sure that they're abiding by it. And we try to hold your hand or look out for you to make sure that your obligations under a contract are being met.
When you said 5 days, one of the specific things that does say 5 days is going for a mortgage. You have to apply for a mortgage within 5 days. And different contracts, 5 days means something different because some are... Go ahead.
That's a great point. Another thing to look for in a contract, and again, I'm speaking to the general public, and hopefully your professionals will assist you with this, but when looking at a contract, one of the things to look for is what is defined as time. Now, in the FAR contract, which is the standard here in Brevard County, time is defined as calendar days. However, if any of the time frames ends on a Saturday or a Sunday or a national legal holiday, then that time frame is automatically extended to 5 p.m. of the next business day. So if you have a 3-day contract, but it's on Wednesday, you don't count the day of. So if you sign it on a Wednesday and you have 3 days, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, it really extends to 5 p.m. on Monday because it's calendar days.
Unless that's a holiday.
Unless Monday's a holiday, and then it would extend till Tuesday. Exactly right. So it extends to the next business day. Some contracts, and this is the important point, some contracts actually use business days to count as opposed to calendar days. And so 3 days, it can often be the same thing. In other words, it would be Thursday, Friday, Monday, and it would end on you'd have until Monday. So it can be the same or it can be different. It's important to know whether you're dealing with calendar days or business days. But that's an example of some of the pitfalls in a contract right. And some of the things to know about. But again, the standard contract is 12 pages long, and I can go on for obviously more than 4 hours in pointing out the various issues. So again, the point of this show is not to give you all of the highlights, but to give you the highlights, to let you know that there are things out there, and then to seek a competent professional help to make sure your interests are protected.
We just want to make sure that you are well aware of your rights and what is expected from the professionals that you have representing you, because I always say when business is doing well, whether it's real estate or whatever it is, the stock market, doesn't matter, people come out of the woodwork to become professionals in that field because they see a fast buck, as they say. And I always say, be careful the skimmers and the scammers, because they will come out of the woodwork when business is doing well, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of something that with the right legal advice you might not have found yourself earlier. So we're just here to make sure that we protect all of our audience and let people know that the best advice is to seek out first that professional that can sit and counsel you without any kind of their own agenda. You want someone that can sit and talk to you from a neutral point so they can see exactly where you're coming from. Because it's just like the first thing that we always advise people to do, if you're selling especially, everyone hears of hiring an inspector when you're purchasing a home. But when you're selling a home, the best thing that you can do is to hire an inspector as an example, because that inspector has no they have no agenda. Thank you. They have no agenda to sell you anything. It's not like having a contractor come out and having them tell you what might need to be done to your home. They'll have a different agenda because they want to naturally get the work. But an inspector is going to come out and let you know in just black and white exactly what he feels your home, what kind of health issues your home is having. He'll be able to tell you you have 5 years left on your air conditioner, or your roof is at its maximum and you're at I have 17 years and it's a 19-year roof and so forth. He'll let you know. So now you have a better picture of what you're selling, because if there's time to actually fix some of these things and do some of these things that have to bring your house up to standards, it's time to do that before you put your house on the market. So many people wait and they let that buyer's agent bring in the inspector, and that's the first time that you're told of something that's wrong with your house, and it completely can mess up your negotiations, because you want to know what you have before other people tell you what you have, if that makes sense. And so we always advise, have those professionals sit down with you that don't have a hidden agenda, don't have something personal that would be involved with their decision on telling you things. So an inspector is a great place to start. An advisory, sitting down with you, John, just talking about their legal issues, because it might not be as cut and dried as selling a place and buying another place. They might have, they might want to do an estate. They might want to set up a title with a new marriage and so forth, and all of that needs to be taken into consideration before you start selling and buying and bringing out those professionals that want to help you.
I like to train all of my agents at Waterview Realty, and also my employees at the other companies, Waterview Title and Lack, it's a client first mentality. You need to sit down with the client and find out what their needs are, because sometimes somebody might come to you to sell the home. That might be what they're thinking. Okay, I'm going to go to a real estate agent because I want to sell the home. Well, I advise my agents, great, let's do it. But first meet with them, confirm that that's actually what's in their best interest.
Exactly.
The goal here, yes, we're all in this to make money, and of course I want to get paid a commission or an attorney's fees or whatever the case may be, but I believe in the giver's gain philosophy of you find out what the client needs, do what's in the client's best interest, and sometimes that might mean I forego a commission. I might not get paid because I've talked them into not selling their home.
Right.
But if I'm doing right by the client, and if that's what's in their best interest, that's the goal of Waterview Realty and anyone I work with and train.
Exactly. There's so many people that I always say, I've been in real estate for 40 years and I've yet to sell someone a home. And they say, what? I say, I've never sold a home to anyone. I've helped them and assisted them in purchasing a home, but I've never sold them anything, because I don't believe in the word selling, because it sounds like you're trying to talk somebody into something that might not be in their best interest. But especially with our show, Your Hometown Solutions, it's all about finding solutions that are good for you. So if you're, especially again, if you're over the age of 55, 60 years old, something like that, and you're kind of thinking about, Mom, what's my options out there? Do I have to sell my house and move into a condo? Do I have to go into assisted living? Especially, unfortunately, with the people that are widows and widowers and they're by themselves now and they're not getting as much done in the home as they did in the past. What do? Then sometimes when you talk to your family members, they might have a different agenda than you want. So find that professional. We're here to help you. If we certainly can sit and talk with you, if we can't help you, we will make sure we advise you on who to see. So everything is done in your best interest. So Jonathan, tell us how people could find information about you or call you and just maybe make an appointment or talk to you on the phone with Lack and Lack Chartered, which is in Indialantic, Florida.
Yeah, the best way to reach me would be by telephone, area code 321-953-5115. Can also be found on the web at www.lacklaw.com. That's LACKLAW.com. And you can also email me at johnlack@lacklaw.com, and that's spelled JONLACK at LACKLAW.com. And while I am located in the Brevard County area with the 321 area code, we are also doing business, as I say, in the South Florida area as well as Central Florida.
That's right. We cover the coast. So for right now, we want to make sure that you go visit us at yourhometownsolutions.com. You can also see past shows there, as well as on Talk Radio talknetworkradio.com. Sorry, I messed that up. And this is Jean Newell.